Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice for radio, and it is a glorious morning. Pokémon were listening. We are actually getting a Bewear GX. I called for it in my Toxapex GX video yesterday. I didn't expect Pokémon to be watching and to make one quite so quickly, but oh my goodness, in the upcoming Pokémon card gym tournaments in Japan, they're being given booster packs, and they are getting a Bewear promo. It looks like this. The art is beautiful, and I now edit with my Bewear side by side. Don't believe me? Check this out. So now I get to sit here with my Bewear and talk about and edit a video about Bewear GX. So apparently Bewear is getting the love, and actually, given that he is in the Sun and Moon set and he was in the Lycanroc GX deck, maybe Bewear is actually getting quite a bit of love. Now, we all know that if this card is even remotely playable, this will be the only card I ever play until it rotates, or they release a Mamoswine GX, which I believe is unlikely. 210 HP is standard for a Stage 1 GX. It's colourless, so it hits nothing for weakness. The days of the Garchomp War are over. It is weak to fighting, which I've said time and time again. A lot of the new GXs are weak to fighting. Snorlax, Tauros, Umbreon, Gumshoes, now Bewear. So I think people are going to start taking advantage of this fighting weakness in the near future. Now, if you can stop looking at the beautiful face for just a moment, he has got free attacks, as we've come to expect from these GX cards. Oh, and a retreat cost of free, which is large, but come on, look at him, he's huge. What else did you expect? For free energy, Bear Hug. 80 damage, and your opponent cannot retreat. Now, the free energy sucks. If this was a double colourless, I would absolutely adore this attack, but we've seen this time and time again. From the Snorlax, the Plasma one, through to Gabite, who I've mentioned a few times, stopping your opponent retreating can be really good. A lot of decks rely on using stuff like Floatstone or free retreaters in order to be able to get their active out of the active. Now, don't get me wrong, you can still use something like Zoroark, because it's only the defending Pokemon that can't retreat, and there's all kinds of options like Switch and Escape Rope, but your opponent will not always have one of these options. Now, the free energy cost is a little bit rough, but you've got double colourless energy, and there's always options at the moment. You can use Max Elixir onto a Stuffle, or you can use one of the various options like, oh, I don't know, Yveltal. There's a whole bunch of Pokemon that will accelerate to any bench Pokemon. The Volcanion, there's another one. So you could use those Pokemon in order to get the energy onto the Bewear. And I know he is a GX Pokemon that gives up 2 prizes, but one of the beautiful things about these GX Pokemon are that they evolve from non-GX Pokemon. So what you could do is just keep them as Stuffles on the bench, attach all the energy, and then you can evolve straight up into Bewear as and when you are ready to attack, not before, so that if your opponent does take out your bench Stuffles, they're only taking 1 prize. I can live with this, ladies and gentlemen. 80 damage is pretty good. Don't forget Choice Band, link in the description, which will put this up to 110 as long as you're facing off against an EX or a GX Pokemon. You're 2-hit KOing, and as I've always said, if you cannot 1-hit KO, 2-hit KO with Disruption, and that's what you're doing here. It's a 2-hit KO, but you're stopping your opponent retreating in the meantime. That is pretty gosh darned good. So, that's the first attack. Not amazing, but I quite like it. 4 colourless energy, double impact, flip 2 coins, 100 damage times a number of heads. And I feel about this similar to how I feel about Toxapex's first attack. Link to that one again in the description. Because, well, it's entirely flippy. Now, in Expanded, we've got the tool Trick Coin and the Pokemon Victini, either of whom, but not both, you can only use one or t'other, will allow you to reflip those coins if it doesn't come out how you like. 25% chance of hitting for 0, 50% chance of hitting for 100, 25% chance of hitting for 200. And again, Choice Band puts this up to 230. As a desperation attack, this is phenomenal because you get to just flip 2 coins, and if you hit double heads, you hit for 200 or choice band 230, which will probably get your final KO to get rid of, to win the game, or indeed just to take a big KO. But if you want a desperation attack, Big Fro GX. Also, kudos to the naming here. Bear Hug, Big Fro. Double Impact's a bit rubbish, but he is a big bear. Bear Hug and Big Fro, I'm sorry, they are very appropriate names. Can you tell I'm excited about Bewear GX yet? Hashtag editing buddy. Now, this one, 4 colourless energy. Discard your opponent's active Pokemon and all cards attached to it. Now, with it being a GX attack, it's 1 GX of any description per game. If you use this, you can't use any others. This could be phenomenal. Now, it's discard, not KO, so you do not take a prize for doing so. However, this is, for instance, your opponent has no bench Pokemon. This attack wins the game straight away, no ifs, buts, or maybes. If your opponent has no benched, this wins the game. Now, you could do this attack on turn 1 of the game if you went second. It would involve double max elixir, both hitting an energy onto a Stuffle, and then attaching a double colourless energy, and then using a Wally to evolve straight up into Bewear, and getting your active Pokemon out so Bewear could get in. It's a lot, but it's possible. As a side note, in the Toxapex video, I did say that using Wally could be fun. I'm not a huge fan of Wally with a Bewear deck, because he doesn't have a single energy attack, and a good single energy attack is really why you would want to evolve on the first turn of the game. Or I suppose something like a Trevenant that's got a really good ability. So, the other thing this GX attack is good for is just taking out your opponent's threat. I see this as a mid to late game attack. What will often happen is that your opponent will be setting up quite nicely, and then as the game wears on, they've got a whole bunch of damaged Pokemon, a whole bunch of KO'd Pokemon, and they very often end up with 1 Pokemon, but they can win the game with that 1 Pokemon. Double Fro GX discards that Pokemon, and all the energy, and all the tools, and then they've got to have something on their bench. And even if they've got bench Pokemon and you don't instantly win the game, if they don't have any good bench Pokemon, if they don't have any attackers, you can just bear hug your way to victory. Ladies and gentlemen, I am utterly delighted that I got to wake up this morning, sit down and have my breakfast, and find out that several people had tweeted at me, tagged me on Facebook, or PM'd me to tell me there is a Bewear GX. Don't believe that I asked for this in yesterday's video? Here's a clip. One question I've got at the beginning, where's my Bewear GX? Why are we giving so much love to Pokemon like Toxapex when we could be giving that love to Bewear? Told you so. Now, in terms of how much I love it and the art, it's my favourite GX, and I don't think it will ever be beaten. As a card, I am giving it 5 Wassies. It's a Bewear GX. You all knew I was going to give it 5 Wassies. I don't see why you're acting so surprised. Now, in terms of an attacker, it's got a good attack with a good effect, which is slightly overpriced, a flippy attack, and a unique GX. It is not an every turn attacker. It is not amazing. I quite like the idea of pairing it with Vileplume and just hitting for 80 while your opponent can never retreat, while occasionally using Double Impact or Big Fro GX. I quite like the idea of having a 1-1 tech in some decks just to use Big Fro GX. As it stands, it's not an amazing card. It's fun, it's got some uses, it's going to take a bit of effort, but there are ways to make this card good, primarily if you're lucky at flips, if you can stop them retreating at the right time, or you can really, lock them out of the game using the GX to get rid of their only Pokemon. But I'm not giving it fewer than 5 Wassies, because it's a Bewear GX. Now, as a quick side note before we finish, this is the 3rd Bewear card, so I need to stop going on about him getting no love. He's clearly getting a lot of love. The Bewear from Sun and Moon. He's got the attack Bear Hug for a double colourless. It is for a double colourless, like I was asking the GX to be, but it only does 40 damage. And there is the promo Bewear. This is the one that came out in the Lycanroc GX deck that's got a really nice ability which allows you to just draw free cards when you evolve into Bewear. Although the attack is not particularly great. I have given a link in the description. I've done a video about this, so do check out those 2 Bewear cards. Don't forget that because it's Bewear in Bewear GX, you can only have 4 Stuffle in your deck, but you can have 4 Bewear and 4 Bewear GX, as they have different names. And don't forget you can use Devolution Spray here. And one option, if you're playing a Bewear deck, one option I would definitely use is using the promo Bewear, the one from the Lycanroc GX deck, with Devolution Spray. Evolve up, get your free cards, then devolve him, because it is the GX that you're primarily concerned with using and attacking here. In terms of how this is going to be released, this GX card, we don't know, but just like Lycanroc GX, just like Snorlax GX, the overwhelming likelihood, I would think, is that we are going to be getting a Bewear GX box at some point in the near future, and no prizes for guessing how many of them I'm going to buy. All of them. Now, you know the deal, ladies and gentlemen. There is a comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. Tell me I rated Bewear too highly. And then look at his adorable little face and consider yourself wrong. Tell me how you think I could use this card. I do want to know because, well, I really want to use this card. There are buttons to both like this video and subscribe to this channel. I would recommend you use them both, and you can hit me up on Twitter at @TheWassy, and thank you to all the people that did to tell me about this card being released. One last thing before I go, I'm releasing this in the morning after doing a Toxapex video yesterday evening. 2 videos in a day, you know the deal. Make sure you check out my Toxapex video. If you show me you want multiple videos in a day where the news tells me I need to, then they will be provided. The most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.